African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Making meaningful impact was the central idea that developed into a major enterprise when the founders of Jobberman, Opeyemi Awoyemi, Olalekan Olude, and Ayo Adewumi went to work on what would eventually become the largest job portal in West Africa.
Now, Jobberman was created to bridge the gap between opportunity and talent. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so when we started Jobberman, the whole idea was the fact that we wanted to really impact. Right, we wanted to create something that would impact on not just thousands of people, but millions of people. And we saw the fact that really a job is very important to the life of everybody in general. Jobs will put food on the table for the people. At the same time, everyone needs a job. And even if you don't need a job, you know someone who needs a job, right? So that was pretty much the whole idea.
Now, I've always wondered, with all these different personalities, have you ever had a major disagreement that almost threatened the existence of the business?
Well, in retrospect, I would say, some would say we're lucky. I think we're lucky, really, in general, because a lot of people have these fears around partnerships, especially when there are more than two people involved. But to a large extent, we've had a smooth run. Definitely we do have our quarrels, but we've never had a major fight that would, or major quarrel or disagreement that would threaten the existence of the business.
The kind of partnership that has really worked for us is, number one, purpose before self. So it's always about the business, always in the interest of the business. So that's number one. Number two is the fact that at the end of the day, we're trying to build a business, and it's not really an Opeyemi or Lekan or Deji's show. It's really about building an internet franchise that we can take to the rest of Africa, and something that maybe in 5-10 years that maybe our sons or daughters will be asking us, okay, were you involved in this? And we'll be proud to say, okay, we've been part of a group of people that have been able to build institutions.
Only after its first year in business, Jobberman received investment from a world leader in private equity in internet space, Tiger Global. The first round of investment is rumored to be in the region of $1 million.
Now, I know that the metrics have sort of changed. VCs are not willing to just dole out cash like they used to.
Sure.
So how would you advise a young startup, a startup, to go about poising itself to get financing?
Well, I think financing is very tricky. It's also very important. But I think if you start out to raise capital when you're starting a business, I think it's the wrong mindset.
A while back in college, we actually worked together on a property portal, right? And we started it. We had big dreams for it, and we felt it was important for us to raise a lot of money to start the business. We were looking forward to raise 20 million naira then. This was third-year students in the university, and we pretty much walked the streets of Lagos from Ife, came to Lagos, talking to potential investors, trying to see if we could get this money. We had a lot of promises. A lot of people told us that they could give us this money. They promised us a lot of this. By the end of the day, all our efforts were futile in terms of trying to raise this money. And that was when we understood the fact that what's more important is actually starting. Starting. Just start with an idea, start working on it, grow it, keep nurturing it, and somehow you kind of find your feet. So it's the same principle that also comes to mind when it comes to about failing. You start. You don't know where it's going to go, right? But you just start. You just start. Start with a picture in mind and go for it. Little steps, and then somehow you find your feet. And even if you don't find your feet, don't be emotional about it. You leave it. You move on to the next thing.
When we started the business, I think our intent was not to raise capital, but our intent was to build the largest catalog of jobs, whether online or offline, when we started out. And we also, one of the reasons why we decided to do a job site was the fact that we wanted to build a business with very low capital requirements in terms of, we're a student at that point in time, so even the little money we could also to put together, was it going to sustain us for the very first year? Yes, it was going to sustain us for the very first year. After the very first year, we need to ensure that we start getting paying customers right through the door. So I think we had some very clear understanding that building this was not really about trying to raise capital, but was really trying to build a company and really trying to build a world-class company. So we're still in the process of building that world-class institution. So for us, what I would say in terms of advice is, if you find a real problem out there, and you have strong convictions that you're positioned to solve that problem, then definitely you should try and use what you have to get what you want in terms of solving that problem. And once you do that very diligently, then money and people are going to flow towards you.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
In February 2012, Jobberman was listed as number 8 on the Forbes list for most promising tech startups in Africa. Now, did you think or envision that you could ever be that big?
Well, I think yes. We've always been ambitious. We knew that we would definitely get there at some point. How soon was what we did not know. I think that's just the part of it. Yes.
3 years.
How soon was what we did not know, but we knew that at some point we would definitely get there.
You have almost a 60-man team working at Jobberman. Now, have you become more cognizant of the needs of your employees over time?
Okay, so I think it may sound like a cliche, but I think it's extremely true that it's really about people, people and people. So when you're trying to build a company or in the process of building a company, one of the things you need to put into perspective is your people in terms of their learning and development, even in terms of succession. Are you prepared that, okay, at the end of the day, when you're not there, the company or the institution still lives on? And how are you addressing some of those gaps, whether it's leadership gap or development gap, or it's really around welfare? So how are you listening enough to your people, and are you have you created like a company culture that cares for its people? So I think those are really, really important in driving productivity in any organization. And I think at the end of the day, one of the things that we do, we tend to spend a lot of time is, even from the hiring, recruiting process, it takes longer for us to say yes when we're trying to hire. So maybe the person will go through about 3, 4, 5, sometimes 7 processes and interview stages, talk to as many people as possible in the organization. So I think we're getting there, but definitely we still have a long way to go in terms of being able to assemble an A team, and of course helping those people to grow, not just professionally but also personally.
If you ever came across someone who was better suited for your role, would you be willing to step down?
Yes, absolutely yes. It's one of the things I've always preached, and I still mentioned it last week at an event. Right, I discovered that most people do not like hiring people or working with people who are much more smarter than them. For me, I think about it in 2 ways. If I hire someone who is smarter than me, number one, that means I have less work to do, which means I can also exercise doing more other things. And by the way, like I said, my work does affect other parts of my life, which means I will have more time for my family, I have more time to be social. Right? I think it's more around collaboration, trying to understand how the person can actually add value. And if so, let the person do it. I believe in letting the best man win.
You are indeed going global with offices in Ghana, in Kenya, and of course in Nigeria. Now, at what point did you decide it was time to expand?
I think it was at the point that we were clearly the number one in Nigeria, whether it was in terms of the core metrics, whether it was jobs, whether it was the number of employers, whether it was even revenue. or the overall market share. So I think at that point in time, we just said, okay, one of the next logical things in terms of growing the business was just expanding in terms of geography. So we decided to expand to Ghana, and about 2 years ago, we also did a bit of consolidation to move into East Africa as well. So Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, currently we are in Rwanda as well.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
The trio agreed to work on the job space for a number of reasons, including a low capital requirement, huge market opportunity, the labor force of over 45 million people, and superior product differentiation. Jobberman at inception was financed from a pool of funds created from their stipends, but is now vying for the #1 spot in their industry in Africa.
Now, you tweeted recently and said in Africa, wealth of wisdom is assumed, in quote, to be directly proportional to age.
Oh, okay.
Now,
so you're following my no, this is scary.
So why would you say assumed? Why assumption?
Yes, I mean, if you look at our tradition, our culture, for example, you would realize that, okay, maybe when we're small, when daddy's talking and you have an idea, it's shut up, right? And I got the shock of my life when I had to, intern in the UK with Goldman Sachs. And when we got there, the first thing we did was, to be, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, not actually, but, to be, to be schooled that CiCo in Africa, right? You don't, push your opinions across. You keep quiet, right? But for you to survive in the international world, in the Western world, actually, you need to be able to push your thoughts and your ideas across, right? And even within the culture, I mean, I haven't come back. I still see the fact that people, younger ones, subordinates, so to speak, don't talk. And the beauty of actually moving any organization, any country, any system forward is when you have constructive arguments and discussions on delivering the best solution for. So you don't have the best solution. They don't have the best solution. You're looking at it from the child's point of view, or the young age, latest trend point of view. You are looking at it from the whole daddy's point of view. You should be open enough for you to kind of reach a compromise where, there's a mix that appeals to both the elderly person and the childhood. And that's what we still see in the environment, in our culture, in the economy.
You're definitely passionate about Nigeria,
Yes,
still staying on Africa. Now, what are those things that you want to see change? Those things that would basically change the lot of a young Nigerian entrepreneur?
Now, in terms of what I hope to see in the coming years, I'm hoping that with the new dispensation we get with the new dispensation we see the change that we hope Nigerians have voted for. And in terms of the things that I am expecting to see, for example, I'm expecting to see a place where the cost of doing business, the cost of expressing yourself in whatever perspective is very, very cheap or low. So the cost of expressing yourself as an individual may be based on information or in terms of the freedom of expression, right? The cost is very low. You're not arrested. You're not, you're not harassed. That's in terms of the democratic dividends that we expect. In terms of the cost of making money, the cost of learning, the cost of being a better person, we're expecting that. Okay, in terms of doing business, things like power. Things like tax, things like even manpower. The cost of getting manpower, right, is very low. So it makes people go out, express themselves, create new businesses, right. And the only things all over the world, SME seems to turn the economy of countries around, right. And the hardest hit in this part of the world is still SME. We are very, very dynamic. We are very, very energetic. Nigeria is a place where the average youth is stepping out of school and asking, is ourselves that what can I do? We are more entrepreneurial than career focused, so to speak. The government and the country as a whole should see this as an opportunity to latch on, right? To create more jobs, to create, better opportunities for the country, and the multiplying effect we hope will turn the economy around.
I told a mentor of mine that at 45, I would like to start mentoring, young entrepreneurs, business people, and I mean, I'm sure you want to know what he told me. Like, why are you waiting till you're 45?
Absolutely.
Why not now? There are people who already look up to you, and now you're already doing this at age 31. What's your favorite thing to talk about at these mentoring sessions?
I think the most important thing in life is finding yourself. When you find yourself, you come to master yourself. So the whole thing around self-awareness, self-mastery, I think is extremely important. You understand your strengths, your weaknesses. And when you understand your strengths and weaknesses, you'll be able to do two things. Number one, you are humble enough to know the things you don't know. Number two, when you're humble enough to know the things you don't know, then you'll be able to ask for help. And I also think that culturally in our environment, people don't often ask for a lot of help, even when they're not sure of what they're doing, or when they know that it's going to be very difficult. I think asking for help is one of the most easy things you can ever acquire as a skill set. And when you ask for help, it also helps you to be able to ask as many questions as possible. And when you keep asking questions, I think life is really around discovery, asking questions, and then when you ask enough maybe stupid questions, then you start asking the right set of questions. And then when you ask the right set of questions, then maybe perhaps you stumble on a gold mine or a treasure. Yeah.
What is life like being married to a fashion designer?
I think it's very interesting. So for me as an individual, I'm a very private person. Being married to a fashion designer, of course, it brings a lot of color to your life, whether you're going for events or you're being exposed to a lot of things like primary colors. A lot of people find it very, very hard to understand colors, especially for men. I think one other thing that is extremely interesting is you also become very detailed to an extent. If you're not detailed enough, then that will be something you have to adjust to.
People say most entrepreneurs are married to their businesses first. It's kind of true, but I think there's the place where you need to have those trade-offs, right? It's definitely taking a lot of toll on my social life too as well. I rarely do party. I rarely do go to social functions, and I don't consider myself an 8 to 5 person, right? I start pretty much, let's say, around 6, and then I end pretty much, let's say, around 12. Right? That's my typical day. The days where you're lucky, maybe on vacations, I have to do less than that. You do it. What's most important is that you get the job done. So that pretty much has affected a lot. I'm married, I'm with a son, and I try to prioritize that now more than any other thing else because it's important.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
So you still stand there to look for a job inside newspaper?
As I haven't gotten a job yet, what would I do?
You got to step up like me now. See me, I got my job on Jobberman.com on the internet.
You adopted a strategy in 2012 by signing on an ambassador for the Jobberman brand.
Yes.
And that was Funke Akindele.
Yes.
Yes, she can reach out to the grassroots and all of that. But
Yes.
what was your core strategy by signing on as ambassador for Jobberman?
Okay, so Funke Akindele is someone that is very close to the heart of Nigerians in terms of entertainment and in terms of movies. And Funke Akindele also shares, some of our core values, which is actually, telling the story of someone that can actually, start from the grassroots and, grow to become a success in in her career. If you look at the movies, I'm not sure whether I'm opportune to mention it, where
you can. And she's everybody knows her as Jennifer.
Oh, okay, as Jennifer. Okay, So if you look at the movie Jennifer, for example, where how she started from is in Abeokuta, and she was able to carve a niche for herself, right? So she kind of aligns with the average Nigerian employee, right? When you step out of school, you want to make a name for yourself, right? And you wake up every morning and you go to work and you sweat, you have your kids at home, you get home late, you try to balance things of life, in order to get to where you dream you want to get to, right? Funke Akindele did that successfully, acted that even in the movie, right? So it kind of aligns with the Jobberman's dream and brand of getting people ahead. And she was a fantastic person to work with.
Lastly, would you say that you have peaked in terms of unique visits, or there's still opportunity for growth?
Have we peaked? No. I mean, look at it, 170 million Nigerians. If you look at the working population, above half of them are, at that stage where, you can, where the opportunity to work, right? And if you look at the number of candidates we have on Jobberman, upward of about 1.5 million, you'd realize that, okay, if you look at 50 million to 1.5 million, I mean, we still have, we've hardly scratched the surface, in the real sense. And that is our biggest headache. That is also our biggest dreams, to be sure, to ensure that, we get to everybody, right? And also, reach the nook and the crannies where Jobberman is currently not known, or where Jobberman is currently not used, right? Whether it's the student community that are yet to hear of Jobberman, or my father, for example, that is not using Jobberman, just say it.
We are also looking forward to go beyond just connecting job seekers to employers, to trying to actually better job seekers themselves. I think beyond the problem of unemployment, there's also a bigger problem that looms over Nigerian graduates, is the problem of unemployability,
and suitability,
right?
for the
and
role.
suitability for the role, right? And lack of job skills, right? So we want to also go deep into that end and create impact. Like I said earlier, our vision was basically to create impact.
So are you hungry to go ahead and start something new?
At this stage, I would say no. But definitely we don't know what the future holds. But of course, I think at some point in time, I would like to give it maybe my entrepreneurial maybe bug another chance, so that I can build something from scratch again. But we'll see, I think.
So I decided to make a quick switch and ask a few questions about their lifestyle choices, and I hoped to catch them off guard.
Now I have a few quick fire questions for you. What do you like to eat?
Wow. I have no favorite food, and that's the truth. I just like snacks in general.
Why would you ask me that kind of a question?
Rice?
I'm not a rice person. I prefer amala or eba. I'm heavily local.
What is your style?
Basically, very simple: shirt, trouser, and shoes.
That's a tough question.
Young, vibrant, dynamic, extremely ambitious.
Okay.
And also, I'm enemy of the status quo. I love to challenge the status quo.
Okay. What CEOs do you currently look up to?
Atedo Peterside.
Yinka Sani, Stanbic IBTC.
Igi Mokwede, that's the former
Access Bank.
Access Bank MD.
Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple.
I always do respect Steve Jobs, rest in peace. Elon Musk, who is like pretty much that entrepreneur that is just different from every other person else. Yeah, and I like Pastor Adeboye.
What's your favorite brand to wear?
I'm feeling pretty much not a brand person. Pretty much anything works for me.
I tend to wear what looks good on me.
I love Emprego Holdings but I love a lot of Italian designers.
I'm a stickler for shoes. Like, I can spend all my salary on shoes. Right.
What's your favorite car to drive?
Car, a G-Wagon.
I love Benz.
right car to drive. It will be a Benz by the moment I drive a Toyota.
Okay, so what's your favorite travel destination?
Macau.
I love Paris. I love Paris.
I've traveled pretty much everywhere, but Singapore will still be it.
So what's your favorite book of all time?
The World is Flat by Thomas Feldman.
Robert Greene. 48 Laws of Power. Yeah.
Any book by Max Lucado? Any book by Max Lucado.
Now, what book are you reading right now?
So I'm reading. I'm reading this book about Manchester United former coach.
Okay.
So it's pretty much like his autobiography.
I'm reading Obasanjo's book, My Watch.
I do a lot of blogs, right? Then the Bible. That's it.